Hi there, this is Fred, FR5ED with a silent 5, here with a beer review. This one is called Humidor Series India Pale Ale from Cigar City Brewing out of Tampa, Florida, one of my favorites. They do push the envelope quite a bit, kind of like Dogfish Head does, trying new things, and this is a logical experiment for them, and I shouldn't say experiment. They've been doing this for quite a while now with a lot of their beers. Where they take Spanish cedar spirals and put them in with while it's fermenting, I believe, and it imparts anywhere from a mild to a less than mild flavor and aroma of Spanish cedar. Which, if you're a cigar smoker, you know that Spanish cedar is used in humidors to, impart that aroma, and supposedly to keep any kind of bugs out of the cigars. So since this is Cigar City Brewing, I guess they thought that was a logical thing to do. I actually got to see some of the spirals when I was visiting there one time. Tim Ogden, the head brewer, they were working on a batch of one of the Humidor series, and he had some, so I got to hold one and smell it and see what it looked like. So you see the picture I've supplied here in the video. That's a stock image from somewhere. I didn't have a personal photo of it, but that is exactly what they look like. So anyway, this doesn't have much written about it. Interestingly, on Rate Beer, after 717 reviews, it rates 100 overall and 100 in style. Doesn't get any better than that. However, over on Beer Advocate, now granted it's only 133 ratings, but it rates an 82, which is good. I'm not sure why the disparity there. But the 717 who put it at 100, there's a lot more of them. So anyway, obviously I go in with high expectations. If I understand correctly, I believe this is the Highlight IPA with the cedar added. The only thing that it says in the commercial description over on Rate Beer is the Humidor series is a rotating offering of Cigar City brewing beer aged on Spanish cedar. And that's all it says. So anyway, without any further ado, let's open it. Let's give it a pour. I'm usually not one for additives or anything that's going to affect flavor and aroma to beer. Now, there are stouts that have coffee and, coffee beans in it, and sometimes dark chocolate. Don't mind that. I did have a stout last night that I actually didn't really care for. I'll mention it, not that it matters because this isn't the review on that, but it was Omagong, something about black. It was a Game of Thrones series, and it had licorice and anise in it. And after the first couple sips, I was over it. I'm not into added flavors per se. But anyway, this pours nice. Let me get back on target here. This pours nice and clear, although it's unfiltered. Oh boy, I take that back. I'm going to see if we can zoom in on this so you can see the particulate floating around in there. So I'm going to go way into macro. Now see the particulate floating downwards instead of the bubbles going upwards, or just the bubbles, I should say. Get in a little closer. There's definitely some sediment drifting around in there, up and down. Okay, so I said it was clear, and at first glance it is, but you can definitely see the sediment in there. This is unfiltered. Doesn't mean can conditioned or bottle conditioned, just means that it has not been put in a bright tank or hasn't been run through any kind of a filtering mechanism to make it absolutely clear. What that usually translates into is, maybe more aroma, but definitely a heavier mouthfeel and more flavor. So let's give this a smell. We had a couple finger head going there of a nice white head. It's mixed between dense and large bubbles. And again, just to go into macro mode here and let you get a close look at it. See, we've got a mixture of different size bubbles. And let's give it a smell. Holy cow, that is not subtle in the least. I'm getting, I recognize Spanish cedar. I'm an occasional cigar smoker, and I know what Spanish cedar smells like. This has a salty, cedary smell, and I had never thought of Spanish cedar having a salty smell before, but in this context, it smells very salty and that definite aroma of Spanish cedar. Behind that are some familiar aromas from High Life. You know, it's got the citrusy, you know, that nice soft citrus aroma, but definitely got the cedar just coming right off there, not subtle at all. Okay, let's taste it. Not subtle at all. Wow. I think that's High Life behind there. Maybe it's not High Life. This seems to have more hop bitterness than High Life. IBU 70. The percentage at 7.5% ABV. So that's a little bit higher ABV than High Life as well, I believe. But my gosh, right up front there. Yes, you've got the juicy IPA, you know, flavors going on there, and you've got the hop bitterness. Definitely, there's plenty of hop bitterness there. But my gosh, that Spanish cedar, and there is almost a salty taste to it as well, or sensation. That's amazing. It is not subtle. You have to really like this sort of thing. It's so different, and I guess some of that particulate floating in there is probably little flakes of Spanish cedar. That's I almost wish they would use less cedar just so it was more of a hint. I have had some, you know, white oak IPAs, you know, some things where it's been in oak casks, and I've had it where it was subtle enough to where you might not pick out what it is, that there's something different there, but you might not pick out exactly what it is until you know, read about it or were told. This is no mistaking. You smell that cedar and you taste it. It is not unpleasant, not trying to give the wrong impression. There's plenty, wow, you can really see the particulate floating around there. There is plenty of IPA flavor here. It's just you do have that very bold, assertive addition of the Spanish cedar. I like it. I don't see myself drinking more than one of these in a row on a given evening or, you know, throughout a given day. But it's a nice accent. I'll put it that way. So I highly recommend trying it. Cigar City, can't go wrong. They're great, and I'm fortunate that they're just an hour and a half away from me. Not that I have to drive that far to get the beer, but anyway, give it a try. This is Cigar City Humidor Series IPA, and they have many different flavors of this. They have guava, they have chipotle, they have, you know, a dozen different variations of this. This is the plain Humidor Series India Pale Ale. And this is Fred FR5ED, over and out.